Hi students, how are you? Okay, today we are going to be discussing on SPM Trial for English Language 2021 from Sarawak. Okay, alright, so before we start, I just would like to ask, how are you? How is everyone? So I hope everyone is taking care of themselves. It's quite cold nowadays, it's already end of the year. Okay, so I hope that I think most schools have already done their trial examination for their SPM. Okay, and what we are going to do today is basically discuss how to go about with paper 2, and we are going to use Sarawak paper 2 itself, okay, which is in 2021, and I will also be sharing some tips and some of the methods that I use with my own students in school in comprehending the writing paper. Okay, all right, so let's start. Can we start now? Okay, that's good. Okay, for SPM Trial 2021 from Sarawak, okay, let's look at the first part. So let me make it a little bit bigger so that you can see. Okay, so I think everyone knows that in paper 2, which is the writing paper, you have 3 parts, which is part 1, testing the students on the email skills writing. Okay, and then you have part 2, which is the guided writing, and part 3, which is the extended writing. Yeah. Okay, now for this particular paper, okay, for this particular question in part 1, this it is asking about the students testing the students on how to go about with writing an email. So I think I already mentioned many times that when you are writing an email, you should be very straightforward. This is just testing you on your on how to comprehend, on how to respond short messages. And email is the best example of it. Okay, now if you look at the question here, basically the email is received from your cousin. So therefore, when you are writing your email, the pronoun has to be changed, you, me, I, and you have to bear in mind that Nelson now is actually your cousin. You have to make sure that when you refer to Nelson and whatever that you are discussing in this particular paper, it has to be it has to comprehend the gender itself later on. Alright, so here the question stated that, hi Narisa, so when you were to refer back yourself to Nelson, this is basically mainly 2 different characters, not about you, but it's a different person because you're using names. Okay, so Auntie Elsa and her family are coming to our house this weekend to celebrate Tina's 21st birthday. So I would like some ideas as to where we can have the party and what we can do during the party. Any ideas, please? I would really appreciate it. So this is a very normal way of asking an email, because an email writing, they will have 3 questions asked to the students. So here you can see that Nelson is asking Narisa 3 questions here. The first one is about the venue, where can they have the party, and the activities that they will be doing during the party. And you're giving suggestions here. Alright, then here, any ideas. Any ideas can be in addition, other than activities. Probably you can talk about food, you can have games, for example. Right, let me close the slide because so that I can do some scribbling. Okay, right. Okay, now what I always do with my students is that I will ask them to highlight so that they don't forget and they don't make any mistakes. Usually they will make very silly mistakes. So here you are going to answer back your email to Nelson. Nelson, right? Because why later, when you are given this particular template, the email here has to be put as Nelson's name. So when you answer back to Nelson, you have to write an email address which is it has to be an acceptable email address, not something that you create. The name you can create, but basically the website you cannot. For example, if I were to do Nelson 87 at yahoo.com. The email has to look like this. The email address has to look like this. Okay, then here is you. So when you are going to answer later, when you are going to put here your um, when you're going to input your initial, then your initial should be Narisa. Yeah, right. So the question here is where you can have the party. Like I said, three questions. What can we do during the party? So when the third question here, any ideas please? This can be anything other than the venue and the activities. So like usually when you go for parties, there must be food provided, isn't it? So you can give ideas on how to decorate place, what you can do during the party activities. You can have games, you can have like hangman game, you can have like treasure hunt game. It depends. It depends, but it has to be to the person's age. 21st birthday celebration. So you have to understand, right? Okay. Now, when you write here, sometimes in your question it does not state who anymore because you are already putting the address here. Okay, so what you can do is you can just put this email address at who. Sometimes you will see templates like this. I think Sarawak is just doing this just so that the students do not get confused. So what you do for subject, usually I will ask my students to just take any idea, just take the idea from the question. Okay, ideas for birthday or Dina's birthday celebration. Okay, all right. And usually I will remind my students if they already started with Narisa, so you don't have to waste your time. You just use back the same opening here if you were to answer. If this now listen to you Narisa, now change to Nelson. Hi Nelson. It's as easy as that. Okay, it's as easy as that. Alright? Okay, just be careful. So when you would answer back your email, just straight to the point. You can actually do a little bit of opening. For example, hi, how are you? Thank you for your email. I would like to suggest that you have the party where the venue can be at a house, it can be at your backyard, it can be at a restaurant, it depends. Okay, right? Okay, now let's go to the second question. Now, the second question, the guided writing, please bear in mind the number of words that you are supposed to write is 125 to 150. Okay, now, what happens is that sometimes students, they tend to forget, they tend to write very, very long, so you have to bear in mind guided, this is my advice to my students as well. With the difference between guided and extended is that guided you don't have to be too lengthy. Try to minimize examples as much as possible if you want, because it's not many actually. It's just like 1 page, 1.5 page. It's up to you. Depends on your how big is your handwriting. Okay. If you were to write extended writing, then you will have better examples. You have more examples given. But for guided writing, it's just enough of you to be explaining, because this is just guided, and later we will see what's the difference between guided and extended. Guided has more guidelines for you so that you are not out of topic. Okay, all right. Now for this question, this is about the pros and cons of online shopping. Right, pros and cons of online shopping. Meaning that you're talking about the advantages and disadvantages of online shopping. I think everyone have had the experience and they know what is wrong with it, what is good about it. Okay, so your teacher has asked you to write an essay on how to make the most of online shopping. Making the most means the benefit that you get if you were to do online shopping. What should you be doing? The best way for you to do online shopping, buying in bulks, you look for, you use the vouchers given, you use discounts, you take the opportunity. Here is one opportunities. Alright, so in the question it asks, it is already separating the requirement, meaning the first bullet is asking about, what would be the pros, the benefit, the advantage of it, and then you have the disadvantages and the tips of making the most of online shopping. This one would be an advice. It could be a suggestion as well. Alright. Okay, now let me go to a smaller scale of slide so that I can scribble something. Okay, students, this is another way of you to do brainstorming, because for me brainstorming is very, very important. Sometimes when you don't do brainstorming, you tend to make a lot, you tend to be too lengthy, you tend to be out of number. You write more than what you're supposed to write. So here is easier because your mind is fixed of what to do. So this is what actually I give to my students about the box technique, the brainstorming method. The pros and the cons, I usually ask them to write three, so that they will have a very nice fix of paragraphs. For example, the first one, what would be the advantage, advantage of online shopping. Some of the students might be saying that the pros would be you can buy in bulks. Buy in bulks. Bulks means you buy a lot at one time. You don't buy in small amount, big amounts. Buy in big. Buy in big amount. Alright, okay. Alright, the second one would be prices are cheaper. Prices are cheaper. Okay. When you go to the third one, probably you say there would be a lot of variety. Let me make it a little bit simpler. Variety of choices. Okay, variety of choices. So what's going to happen is that for the weaker ones, they will be doing like they'll have this idea. They know that this one set of pros will become one paragraph. This one set of cons will be one paragraph, and the other set of this will be another paragraph. So basically, they will see that it's actually quite easy to write that because they have already they know what to do in that particular question. Okay, cons would be, if you are buying in bulks, what's going to happen? It's going to be a waste. A waste if buy too many. Because sometimes then you realize, oh, why should I be buying this a lot? Because you don't need it so much. Okay, prices are cheaper, fine, prices are cheaper, but is it quality? Okay, or is it quality? Prices are cheaper if there are discounts. Prices are cheaper if there are vouchers given. Okay, so sometimes you might get scammed. And the third one, you probably get scammed here. Probably you once you have already made the payment, the delivery is not being it's not being sent to you. Okay, for here, things bought. They bought are not like what is advertised. Okay. The second cons and the third con, it might sound similar, but you can actually do a little bit of separation. Get scammed here, probably you get scammed, things are not being delivered. Okay, so what you do is you just do it like this. Things ordered. Okay. I think everyone has that kind of experience. I myself also got scammed as well. And for the third con would be things what are not like what is advertised. So there is no quality of it. Okay, so you can see that the first paragraph is already done. Okay, the second paragraph you have already what you want to do. Okay, tips of making the most of online shopping. So you could see that you read reviews. What else? You make comparison of products. Make comparison of sellers. Sorry, make comparison of sellers. Prices. Let's be more specific. Okay. Third one, you make big big orders, big amount of orders. In order for you to get a cheaper price, probably you could share with your friends and do it by sharing. So you can see here that when at the end of the day, when I and my students sit down together, when we discuss our paragraphing, we actually have our answers here, okay, in the box, and therefore my students have an easier access of later on in comprehending the text. Okay, let me make the slide a little bit bigger so you can see. Okay, so prose 1, prose 2, prose 3, you have this and you have this and you have this, right? Okay, now let's look at my 5 technique, my 5P technique now. My 5P technique means 5 paragraph technique. Usually I will ask my students to write in 5 paragraphs because sometimes it's just to give them some confidence so that they will know that there is a way for them to write. And this sometimes they speak students, more mediocre students, they have no idea on how to go about with making an opening or making a summarization at the end, or the opening and the end. So this is just to build out a little bit of confidence with them, right? Now, for paragraph 1, usually I will ask them to use the introduction. They use the keywords in the situation given. The good thing about guided writing is that they have the situation compared to extended writing. Okay, then for paragraph number 2, you're answering the prompt. Prompt here means the first bullet of prompt. The third paragraph means the second prompt, which is the second bullet. This one you can actually elaborate briefly, but elaborate briefly, try to avoid using so many of examples. Try to. And paragraph 4, you are answering the third prompt, which is the third bullet. And this is where I usually encourage students to be using some cohesive devices also, because besides that, for example. And the last paragraph, which is paragraph 5, is they give a conclusion. For good ones, you can give your personal opinions for the good ones. The mediocre also sometimes can use this way. For the weaker ones, what I would suggest would be, the introduction that you have written just now. You can just use back the introduction as your conclusions. Just that what we do is I will just do a little bit of change. Rather than you be using the first word from the introduction, at the end here, we use the word in conclusion. Okay, let me show you how do I go about with this way. Alright, for example, in the beginning of introduction, what you can do is you can use back the question here. You and your friends have been discussing the pros and cons of online shopping. So my students would usually change the pronouns, become me and my friends have been discussing about the pros. So what they will be doing is they will change the pronoun and use this later as their introduction. And when they want to do their conclusion, they will just put here, in conclusion, me and my friends have been discussing the pros and cons of online shopping. We just change that a little bit. If you want to know how to go about with it, make sure to watch my first video that I did with Johor trial paper. You can see that how do I go about with the comprehending the text, all right, the question as well. Okay, all right, now let's go to the third part. Now the third part of the question is, this is what we call as extended writing. And I just would like to remind the students that every part of the paper, the marks for each essay is 20 marks. It's just that for part 3, you have 3 choices. 3 choices means it can be an article, it can be a report, it can be a story, it can also be a review. So for SPM last year, a review about a restaurant that came out. Um, so I'm not saying that, a review of a restaurant would not come out again, but there are many kinds of reviews. There are many types of reviews. You've got reviews about movies, you've got reviews about books, you also have reviews about food. If you're a travelogue, if you're a food lover, then it's easy for you to attempt it. Okay, now, what's the difference between guided and extended? I have mentioned earlier. Extended essay, you can see that there is no situation given, but they only give you a task compared to guided writing. Guided writing, they will give you a task actually, and they will give you a task. They give you a situation. That is why students sometimes, it's easier to do guided compared to extended. It's easier, right? Okay, all right. Now, for this particular question, for question number 3, so this is an article. All right, calling for articles, Globetrotter magazine. So Globetrotter is another, is for those who like to travel. That's why they use the word globe. So what is your alternate getaway? Who would you go with, or who would you rather be alone? What are your dream activities? So there is not so much of a difference with the number of questions, because from part 1 to part 3, students are still given 3 questions for them to answer. Probably a little bit different for story later on, actually. Right. Okay, let me go to a smaller scale so that I can scribble something. Now, for extended writing, students are required to write between 250 to 200 to 250 words. Like what I've said earlier, the answer should be a little bit longer compared to guided writing and guided essay. Therefore, students have to plan what they want to write and put in examples like what I've mentioned, more examples compared to guided writing. Okay, all right. Your ultimate getaway, what is your ultimate getaway? Ultimate getaway would be something that you really, really look for, excited. If you go for this particular getaway, you'll be totally satisfied. Ultimate, it gives you the total satisfaction. Okay, who would you go with? Yeah. Family, friends, good friend, best friend, or you would rather be alone? Yeah, there's a question here. Now, if you were asked with whom you are going to go with, so you have the choice of explaining. You must give a reason why you want to go alone or why you want to go with your friends or your family. Okay, then your dream activities. If you look at this question, this is not a present tense question. This is not even a past tense question. This is a future tense question. And students have to talk about when they want to give ideas, when they want to give their answer. You are just suggesting. You'll be using words like would, should, could, probably. Okay, those are the things that which is not fixed. You are just planning. It's just a planning, right? Okay. So what I did again is put it out in this type of boxes so that it's easier for the students to brainstorm. Okay. Alright, so what is your alternate getaway? You might have like 3 choices. Choice 1, choice 1, choice 2, and choice 3. Alternate getaway would be, it would be nice if you could go to an island. It would be nice if you could go to an isolated beach where I'm not sure. Ultimate getaway, you want to go for a getaway in a city that you have never been to. Historical city. Okay, historical city. So if you were to ask me, teacher, what kind of getaway? Could be a local destination, could be an international destination. The question does not state where. Therefore, this is a very open question. you can write a local destination or you can write an international destination. It is up to you. Okay. The next box is you are going to be when you have the next box, you are also writing who you would go with or would you rather to be alone. If you say you want to be alone, so just choose one. So you have three reasons. Sorry, you have three reasons why you do so. You have three reasons why you do so. If you were to go with your family, go with family, you have the opportunity to bond together. When you go with your family, you would have like a better companion. You will go when you go with your family, probably to save out a lot more because your parents are actually sponsoring the trip. If you want to go alone, why you want to go alone? So there's a reason to it. So just choose one. Okay, what are your dream activities? Dream activities, this is a plural noun. Therefore, you must have. I just put three boxes so that you can actually fix your mind. You don't have too many to explain. Dream activities, you want to go like mountain climbing, you want to go probably you want to go like food hunting, like certain places or certain countries. Okay. And then you want to do like what? Skydiving. There must be a place around the world that you want to go and do skydiving a lot because you are an ardent fan of skydiving. I'm not sure, but it's just an example. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, the fourth question. The fourth question is the next one. So for this particular paper, the students are given three options, which is the first one article. This is a review. Okay, like what I've mentioned just now, last year we are talking also about restaurant review. And usually when you do reviews about restaurant, it is actually the combination of everything. You're talking about the food, you're talking about the services, you're talking about all kinds of things provided by that particular restaurant. Okay, here, okay, let me make my slide smaller. Have you been to Oregano restaurant? Just imagine that you have been to. This is just talking about your experience. Alright, if so, send us an honest review of your restaurant explaining what you liked, disliked of the place. Okay, as well as its location, staff, and how it looks on the inside. Okay, when you say how it looks from inside, you're talking about the decoration, arrangement of sittings, and so forth. Yeah. Okay. Would you recommend your restaurant to others? Would you recommend? And this is not a very long answer. Is it yes or no? So if it's no, then why is it? So for the answering for the question why, it has to be a little bit more elaborated. Okay, here, what you liked and disliked could be about the food, the menu. We can also talk about the location. If you say the location, probably the location that you are referring to will be far if you don't like the place, or it's quite secluded. This is secluded. So it's quite difficult for you to find it. There are restaurants which are like this. When you talk about the staff, you're talking about their service, the services. When you talk about the looks of the inside of the restaurant, you're talking about the interior. Okay, the interior, the design. Students, you have to remember the thing that your teachers are looking for when you answer questions like this is what we call as thematic vocabulary. Thematic vocabulary. Okay. Thematic vocabulary, it is depending on the theme that you are being asked. So for this, you're talking when you are giving opinions about places to eat, you're talking about the things that I have included here. Okay. So you have to understand that we are not only looking at the Some students, they are so particular about using bombastic words, which is not that. That is not the thing that we are looking for. It's a thematic vocabulary. If you're going to talk about location, you're talking about why, is it far, is it near, is it secluded, is it private, for example. Those are the vocabulary that you will use. Okay. All right. And the last one, the last question would be, this is a story. So I think for it's a trend for every examination question. Uh, the story, a story that question about story writing is something that will always be asked in your SPM examination paper, whether it's trial paper or is it the real SPM paper. There must be a story that students are given the choice to answer, because some students are very good at writing this. Yeah. Okay, for this question, the title is about a narrow escape. So it's a little bit different compared to the first and the second question in part 3, because the bullets are only 2, where students have to do or make a description of the order of events, meaning that you're talking about the process of this particular incident, of this particular story. And if you were the type who reads a lot of novels, you can see there's a climax, there's a resolution part. So you must have that stages, yeah. An account of how you manage to save yourself. So a narrow escape can be what? It can be, you are able to escape yourself from a dangerous situation. Dangerous situation could be a situation where you're caught in fire or you are involved in an accident, but you basically survive the accident. A narrow escape, you are involved in an accident. You are at the deathbed. You are in a situation where you are really, really in a very, very serious condition, but with God's grace, miraculously, you are able to survive that particular event. This is what we meant by a narrow escape. So students have to be very, very open-minded about when writing a story, and I say the same advice to my students as well. It's not easy to write, but I know there are students who can actually manage to do so. Okay? All right. So I think that's all for this paper, for the discussion for this paper. So if you have any question, probably I could answer it later in my next discussion of another state. Okay. So I wish you all the best. Good luck. Thank you. Take care. Bye.